Okay, so we have made it to the level 3, video 2. This is our last video for the level 3. Now we're going to be writing equations from points. So numbers 1 and 2 say to write your equation in point-slope form, given our slope and our point. And then we're going to rewrite the equation in slope-intercept form. Well, it's very simple to write an equation in point-slope form when you have a slope and a point, because that's exactly what you need to write an equation in point-slope form. So to write this equation in point-slope form, it would be y minus the y value of the point that's given to you is equal to your slope times x minus the x value of the point that's given to you. X minus a negative 2 is the same thing as an x plus a 2. So right now we have this in point-slope form, which is part of what they asked us to do. Now they want us to take that equation that we wrote in point-slope form and rewrite it into slope-intercept form, which we've done many times already. To rewrite an equation in slope-intercept form, what you need to do is just isolate y. So I'm going to distribute the 1/2 in. And now I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And it is in slope-intercept form. So the yellow equation, remember, was point-slope form. The blue equation we have now in slope-intercept form, and that's what they asked us to do. We're done. We're going to do number 2, which is the same exact thing. We're going to first write it in point-slope form by doing y minus the y value of the point that's given to us, and that will equal my slope times x minus the x value of the point that's given to us. X minus a negative 1 is the same thing as a plus 1. So this is in point-slope form. Now we're going to rewrite this equation in slope-intercept form by first distributing the 3 into parentheses, and then adding 7 to both sides. So now I have my equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, numbers 3 through 5 ask us to just write our equation in slope-intercept form. Well, in order to write an equation in slope-intercept form, we need to find the slope. We do not have the slope. So we are going to find the slope by using the slope formula, x1, y1, x2, y2, and then my slope formula is m is equal to my y2 value minus my y1 value minus a negative 1 is really a plus 1 all over x2 minus x1 minus a negative 2 is really a plus 2. So I wind up with a slope of 3/6, which can be reduced to a 1/2. All right, well now we're taking this one step further than numbers 1 and 2. This time we found our slope, just like what we had in numbers 1 and 2, we had our slope, but this time we have 2 points. Whereas in numbers 1 and 2, we had a slope and 1 point. So guess what? If you have a slope and 2 points, then that just gives you more choice. What you use is you use your slope, and you get to choose which one of the 2 points you want to use. I'm going to use the first point. And I'm going to write my equation in point-slope form, even though they didn't ask me to. But in numbers 1 and 2, once we were able to have our equation in point-slope form, we could easily transfer it into slope-intercept form by just isolating y. So that's what we're going to do in numbers 3 through 5. You first find your slope and use your slope and one of the 2 points they give you. We're going to write our equation in point slope form first. So y minus my y1 value of -1, y minus a -1 is really a +1, equals your slope of 1/2, which we found, times x minus the x value of -2. That's point slope form. We don't want it in that. We want it in slope intercept form. So now all we do is we distribute and isolate y. So we're basically doing the same thing that we did in numbers 1 and 2, only we need to take it a step further and actually find our slope. Because in numbers 1 and 2, they gave us our slope. So when we isolate y, you can either leave it as a y is equal to a 1/2 x plus 0, or you don't have to write the plus 0. You could just leave it as a y is equal to 1/2 x. That would work as well. But those are your answers, or this is your answer. And if you used the 0.42 instead, you would still wind up with the same slope-intercept form equation. All right. So same thing with number 4, we want to find the slope first. By using the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 minus a -2 is the same thing as a +2. And I wind up with -5 over 5, which is a slope of -1. So then we use our slope, and you guys have choice. You get to choose what point you want to use. The first one or the second one does not matter. This time I'll show you how to use the second one. So we're going to write our equation in point slope form. Y minus the y value minus a -1 is really a +1 is equal to my slope times x minus my x value, which is 3. And then now, to get this into slope-intercept form, I distribute. And I isolate y. So it's just one extra step from numbers 1 and 2. We just need to find the slope. All right, number 5, same thing, x1, y1, x2, y2. Let's find our slope by using the slope formula. y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. 1 minus a -6 is really a 1 plus a 6, so I wind up with a slope of -5/7. I'm going to use that slope in one of the 2 points. In this one, the easier point to use is probably the second point, because it has the number 0 in it, and 0 is always an easy point to work with. So right in my equation in point slope form, I have y minus my y value, which is 0, is equal to my slope times x minus my x value of 1. Distributing the -5/7 in, and then also a y minus a 0 is just a y. I wind up with this, and y is already isolated. And that is how we would write our equation in slope-intercept form given 2 points. Now, we're going to write each equation in point slope form, which number 6 is absolutely the same thing that you do in numbers 1 and 2, but I wanted to kind of just review this with you. So number 6, we're writing this in point slope form. So that's going to be in the form of y minus the y value of the point that's given to you. Y minus a -8 is the same as the y plus an 8. And that will equal your slope times x minus the x value of the point that's given to you. And you just leave it like this because they only wanted point slope form. Now numbers 7 and 8, this time you don't have the slope like you did in number 6. So we do need to find the slope. So I have x1, y1, x2, y2. Using the slope formula, I have y2 minus y1 minus a negative 2 is the same thing as a plus 2 over x2 minus x1. 2 minus a negative 1 is the same thing as a 2 plus a 1. So I have a 6 over 3, which is a slope of 2. So now, again, your choice. We're going to absolutely need to use the slope, but you get to choose which one of these points you want to use. If you decide to choose the first point, your equation would be y minus a negative 2 is really a plus 2 is equal to a 2 times x minus a negative 1 is really a plus 1. That would be a correct equation in point slope form. Or if you chose to use the second point, your equation would be y minus the y value of 4 is equal to your slope times x minus the x value of 2. Both of these equations are correct equations in point slope for this line. And you don't need to write down both. I just want one, and it doesn't matter which one you write. So you might be thinking, wow, those two equations are wildly different equations. Look at them. They look different. They must be different. Well, in fact, these are not different equations. They actually equal the same slope-intercept form equation. So they don't ask you for this on the directions for number 7, but I'm going to show you real quick that this blue equation and this purple equation are technically the same. For the blue equation, if I transferred this into slope-intercept form, which I'm not expecting you to do, so you don't have to take notes over this, we would wind up with the slope-intercept form equation of y is equal to 2x plus 0. If I did the same thing with my purple equation, if I transferred this into slope-intercept form, I would wind up with the equation y is equal to 2x plus 0. So the blue equation, which I now wrote in yellow, came out to be a slope-intercept form of y is equal to 2x plus 0. The purple equation, which I wrote in pink, also came out to the equation y is equal to 2x plus 0. So actually, this purple and blue equation are the same equation, but in disguise. They look different, but they come out to be the same. All right, I just wanted to show you that even though these are technically they look different, that they are technically the same. All right, and then number 8, we still want just point slope form, so we'll just do this one quickly. I won't go on a tangent here. So, finding my slope, I take my y2 value minus my y1 value all over x2 minus a negative 6 is really a plus 6. So I wind up with a negative 3 over 9, which comes out to be a negative 1/3 reduced. So then we're going to take my slope and one of my points. If you chose the first point, your equation would be as follows. If you chose the second point, your equation would be as follows. You do not need both of them, but if you had one of these, I would accept that. Okay, that's your level 3. Now go ahead and practice.